Folks, it is a very special edition of College Sports Now. Michael Felder, Wayne Cook, the Lock Doc. 5 days out from Christmas. We're talking college football playoff, which starts tonight. We got Friday Night Lights in South Bend, Notre Dame, Indiana, and then a triple header on Saturday from noon all the way till probably 8:30. That thing ain't going to kick at 8 at the Horseshoe. You know it's kicking at like 8:20. But, boys, we'll talk about football. Quick mental health check. Let's go around the horn. We're 5 days out from Christmas. We're also 5 days out from Hanukkah. Shout out to our brothers and sisters out there. So let's start with you, Wayne. It is very early out west. Wayne is heading into teach. It's the last day of the school year for 2024. Yeah. Wayne woke up at 5:30 a.m. local time to do the show. The sun has not yet risen, but we're 5 days out from Christmas. Wayne, how are we doing in the Cook household?
I'm wonderful. I woke up at 4:45. Let's just be clear here. So I will be teaching the youth of America in a couple hours, but it's okay. I was so pumped to be on this particular show. You said Felder Friday. I'm like, dude, absolutely.
I'm there.
I'll skip my Tuesday, Wednesday show and be here. So I'm pumped. I love the holidays. We had two of my nieces down. I know, Felder. I'm telling you. Two of my nieces down yesterday. We went ice skating.
Nice.
Ice skating. We've got an ice skating rink up at one of the wineries up here where I live. So it's off to a great start, but it is what it is. I love it. And we get football and lots of football.
There's a lot.
Of football. Holy cow. So, and believe it or not, this time of year we normally get, and I used to be such a bowl guy until they became not bowl games anymore. They just became these things.
We will discuss
that. That's on the list.
But what I like about this part of the season is we've got playoff games and we've got big time football games, and so I'm pumped up. So
good. I'm glad you've done all your Viore shopping for everybody in your family getting ready.
Travis
for the big
Martin
day.
right now. Travis Martin.
Okay, great. Felder, how are you doing down there?
Yeah, Travis Martin. Travis Matthew. Thank you.
Please.
I've got a
it's early.
Back when I used to make good money for my agent, I got a Travis Matthew bag from CAA.
Classy. Felder, how are you doing, man? Like
dude,
5 days out.
Don't. Not good.
Land the plane.
I gotta land the plane. That's the only goal. I gotta land the plane, but I'm not doing well, man. I had a fight with the scratch off machine at the Harris Teeter because it wouldn't take my credit card, and I was like, what? I just used this credit card to pay for my groceries. What do you mean?
Don't you have to do cash only for lottery tickets, or am I mistaken?
So I guess you have to do debit or cash.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't take my credit, and I didn't know that because I don't buy them.
Sure.
But listen, your boys out here doing fucking.
Okay.
Your boys out here doing stocking stuffers.
Yes.
I got some stuff. I got some stocking stuffers. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. My kid's holiday party is in what time is it's 8:40. So my kid's holiday party is at 1:30. I got to go to that. I got a text from my dad that I was like, yo, man, come on. So I already went through this whole thing where I fell.
You're in it. Yeah, you're in it.
Yeah. And I have a schedule. I know at 3:30 tomorrow, 3:30 on Saturday, I got to go to a dance recital downtown, uptown. I'm doing the stuff. Like, I'm going to check every single box. Don't worry. I will check every box, just like these Nike checks. I'm going to check every box.
Nice. Very good.
But
very good.
6 days to go for me because we got a day after Christmas, like brunch. And then on the seventh day, much like God, I will rest.
Okay, very good. Trip Hurd, we had you on earlier with Roddy on Monday. You said that there had been no Christmas shopping done.
What?
Have you progressed? Are you getting closer to the finish line?
Yeah, we're done. Wife did it all. She wrapped them last night too.
Love that. I'm a terrible gift wrapper. We've talked about this, Felder. You used to work at a toy store. I struggle with the wrapping. But
are you serious?
I'm terrible too.
I just struggle with it. It's not. I think it's a patience thing. But anyway.
No, it's literally it's angles and measuring. It's it.
I can't fold correctly at the end, and it always ends up being butchered. Yeah.
Wayne, you don't know this, but I have wrapped more presents than probably with the exception of maybe the people I worked with, I probably wrapped more presents than anyone that's listening to this program.
Yeah. Okay.
I have wrapped whole Christmases for families.
Did you? Oh, okay. I thought you might have worked at a store where you wrapped.
I
for
did.
people.
That's what I'm saying. I worked at a store where I wrapped presents, and I've wrapped whole like a dad comes in with a list of like he's got 3 kids, and he's like, I need 4 gifts for each kid. I wrapped all 4 of those gifts for each kid. So that's 12 gifts. And then another dad comes in, and it's the same thing. I pick the gifts out, I wrap the gifts, and I do all that. I've wrapped, and I don't think that we should have wrapped gifts at my house for Christmas, but my wife insists upon it. And it's one of those things where like I have wrapped so many presents. Every birthday party in South Charlotte that went to Bedford Falls from 1999 to 2007, I probably wrapped that kid's gift. So boom, done.
You literally have your fingerprints all over the youth of South Charlotte. I love
the
that.
the best rapper alive.
Okay, very good.
I'll send my stuff your way next year.
Okay.
By the way, you guys haven't figured out that you can get almost everything you want online and have it just delivered to your house as long as you. I mean, one thing that comes with this experience, this experience of being much older than you guys is, it gets easier. You get better at it.
That's encouraging. I think we need that.
I don't have little kids anymore either.
Yeah,
You're good at it. You're just tired of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to put it. I am good at it. Like I know,
big dog.
I know on Christmas Eve, I've got to figure out a way to move some stuff around because we got our kid a weighted keyboard because she loves piano, and so we got to figure out a way to. That's not going to be wrapped. That will be something she discovers when she goes downstairs to pick up her stocking, which will also have a scratch-off ticket in it.
Yeah, those are the best. The unwrapped stuff.
Yeah.
That comes from
hey, I'll tell you what though,
a magical place.
That's not a gift from Santa Claus. Daddy talk his behind off to pay for this thing.
I love it.
My son's into music too, so there might be a really nice new guitar.
Oh, nice.
But I'm telling you, that stuff costs money, man.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Santa Claus don't have money.
Well, speaking of money, let's talk about some of these playoff games because
Yes,
we got
sir.
Friday night, Indiana, Notre Dame, 8:00 kick. Irish are favored by 7.5. Winner of this one gets Georgia in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day, and then a 3-pack of games on Saturday. So SMU Penn State, we will all be watching because our man Roddy Jones is doing the game for
sure.
TNT. That's a noon kick. It's going to be freezing up there, like highs in the 20s.
That's in the Felder 5. We can
We'll
talk about it. Let's start with Indiana and Notre Dame. Let's kick it off with them.
Let's do it. Felder, you've got some homework. We gave you the Felder 5. So what you got in this game?
We're going to see a healthier Rourke, correct?
Got to. Yeah.
He's had some time off because they didn't play in the Big Ten championship game. Then you get that bonus week. And so he's going to be healthier than he was before. I think that matters. And Wayne, the big thing that I've said constantly about Indiana, and if you look at their numbers, they play this station-to-station football. And I know you're a baseball guy too, so you understand station-to-station. Like all they do, they get a first down, they get another first down, they get another first down, then another first down. Now they're in the red zone, and they go get a touchdown. And I think if they can do that against Notre Dame, stay patient and not have to worry about like trying to do what Ohio State has to do, which is create these huge plays all the time. I think that gives them an opportunity in this football game.
I've been saying it all year. I'm big Indiana fan. I was focused on defense today because we're in the playoffs now.
Right.
And I was blown away with just the 4 games we have today, where they rank. I mean, it's kind of proven.
Yeah,
like these teams are really, really good on defense, and Indiana's top 10. I'm like overall. I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm going. They're like second in the country on. I'm like they're really good on defense. So when you put in a healthy Curtis Rourke at quarterback, who I really like a lot.
Yep.
I think he fits what Cignetti does.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, he's really good at this type of offense. Which I think is important, right? A lot of quarterbacks are misused. A lot of quarterbacks I think are undercoached,
That's a huge thing, dude. I've listened to and I've seen these like videos of Peyton Manning talking about it, Tom Brady talking about it, talking about guys that are like they don't let the quarterbacks play. And the biggest thing for me is Rourke does not look at the sidelines nearly as much as a bunch of these guys. He knows what he's doing. He also doesn't do the thing that we saw, and I think there's tremendous examples of it, but one that sticks out in my mind is Geno Smith when he was at West Virginia, where every play had to be a huge play. Stedman Bailey, Tavon Austin, like a big play down the field. Rourke's like, hey, man, I'll take this guy right here. He's open. We get 6. Guess what? We get 6 more. That's first down. We get 4. We get 5 more. That's first down. Let me read these. Let me read this to you. Yeah. So right now, Indiana is number 2 in the country in red zone attempts. UNLV is number 1. UNLV has also played 14 games. So UNLV has 5 more red zone trips than an Indiana team that's played 12 games. We're talking about 66 red zone trips, 62 scores, 54 touchdowns.
Wow.
They just keep it's
so I saw this from a couple yards away. When they get in the red zone, there were times, and I remember doing a sideline report.
Oh yeah.
And I'm watching, there's a flat route that's open because there's a rub in play. And then there's a seam route that they scored a touchdown on. And I went and I watched it and I go, okay, there's 2 guys open. I said, they will score on the flat route later in this game.
Yes.
So the first one they throw over the middle, and then sometime in the 3rd or 4th quarter they had a touchdown to the flat route. And I said, it's a brilliant call because there's multiple options. And you mentioned it a second ago. There's too many quarterbacks that are, and I talked to too many coaches, 1, maybe 2 read guys. The play is set up for this.
Yeah.
And there's not enough. And I listen to a lot of the Tom Brady and I listen to Kurt Warner. I listen to any of these quarterbacks that talk about, like, you have to be able to make the layup. And so how many teams are capable, the way their offenses run, of having those 10, 11, 12 play drives? It feels like Indiana is. It feels like Indiana is that team. And so a lot of teams need the explosive plays to score. They rely on them.
Yes.
And so, I think it's a really well-coached team. I will ask this another question because this is when I broke this down. I went, a lot of people talk about Indiana and their record based on who they played, their strength of schedule.
That's a hard thing.
But I ask the same question about Notre Dame every year.
Sure.
Every year I say the same thing. I'm like, I don't really know. I like Notre Dame. I do. We're talking a lot about Indiana right now. But I don't know if that's I don't know. This is kind of a game I'm real anxious to see because I don't think everybody I think is probably going to pick. A lot of people feel like are going to pick Notre Dame.
Sure.
But I think Indiana's got a good shot in this one.
I do too. And here's the thing. Notre Dame, a team that lost in Northern Illinois, and not a good North. This isn't like, what is it, Jordan Lynch, Northern Illinois? This isn't that. This is bad, Northern Illinois. But their best, I guess their best win is Army. Second best win is probably Georgia Tech. And then we have the Navy game. They thought going into November that Florida State and USC would matter.
Yeah.
Neither of them did. And so you're right about they do have some questionable bona fides. And so I truly do think, and look, I'm in the car this morning going to take my kid to school, and it's pajama day.
Oh God. Enough.
Pajama day.
Dude, I'm a teacher. We have a spirit week every other week. So
exactly.
It's obnoxious, man. Do less.
Yeah. So and she was dressed up. She's dressed up like Rudolph. Like she has on like these like black and red plaid pajamas that are like a onesie, zip up, and it's got a hood on it that has like the red nose and the whole deal. And I said, "You're going to be the cat's pajamas." And she said, "What does that mean?" And I was like the bee's knees. And she's like, "I don't. What does that mean?" And I think everybody assumes that Notre Dame is going to be kind of the cat's pajamas in this football game. And I think Indiana might undress them. Like I really do, especially when you bring up that defensive stuff. I do think that they might unzip that onesie, baby. Like they're going to be like, this could be not great. And keep in mind, this a bus ride.
Yeah, there's a lot of in-state stuff going on here. For folks that
this is a bus ride. This is a bus ride.
I've been to both of these. I've been to both of these places. I mean, it's fun, and obviously, weather right now is going to play a factor.
South Bend got a lot of snow, but it's that I think we're done with the snow.
So but be careful. And Felder, and again, this is soft Southern California guy that's played in rain like twice.
Thank you for
and I played in some cold weather, but like
yes.
I just will tell you, cold weather affects the way you throw the ball. It does. It affects the way you catch the ball. It affects the way you throw the ball. The ball just doesn't spin the same when it's cold. Cold. Trust me, it matters. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it matters.
I'll say this. As a defensive player, cold affects like the action that people want.
It's so true.
Cold, like defensive players are. I talked to my guy, Eddie McGee, played quarterback at Illinois, and he's like, defensive players are psychos. Like you live for like your main goal is to just run out and create car crashes. Offensive players, they will make some business decisions tonight.
Both of these teams haven't played football in 3 weeks. Okay, who does that benefit? If either team here, because like we know Cignetti's going to be drawing up plays. Remember the Ohio State game? How good they looked in the first drive. Everything was scripted.
Sure.
March down the field, 75 yards. They're up 7-0, and then that offense couldn't do anything until the end of the game when they got that late touchdown to make the margin a little bit more respectable. I'm just curious, does that affect either team? Having 3 weeks off, because we haven't seen this before, man. This is the first time we've done the 12-team playoff. I'm just curious who looks more rusty.
3 weeks off to me is. Well, let's also, you know what, Wayne? Before we get into that, Hartzell, can I just bring this up? How are they handling exams with the playoff? Do you know do you have any insight into that?
Does school matter anymore? I'm assuming they're doing stuff online when they have to.
But I went and looked at all these academic calendars. We did this, what was it, last week? And what we're dealing with is like Notre Dame, they had finals on the 20th. That's today. They have finals today. And when I was in school, and I'm sure it was the same when you were in school, we had like this dead period. Yeah. Where you couldn't practice because you had finals. You had those, what were they called? Study days. And obviously, you had to observe quiet hours and all this stuff and get all that stuff done. And now they're preparing for most of these guys, probably going to be the game of their life.
Yeah, and semester schools, this is their last week. A lot of them.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I looked up the academic calendars. Like they have there's exams, and I don't know what this looks like because. And I'm still in the mindset that you don't practice while exams are going on.
Well,
but they are. I know they are practicing.
Yeah.
But it's a different world. We're living, as you mentioned, does school matter? We're living in a different world here.
Think about this, Felder. Because I didn't even think about that. My brain is. I think these guys are I shouldn't think that because at my school, I know that at UCLA, the players really do go to school. I'm aware of that. But think about this. Think about, Penn State having a backup quarterback that enters the transfer portal who plays. Think about these teams dealing
Arizona
with
State.
Exactly. Think about all the teams have players, coming in, like the coaches are dealing with the transfer portal. So you talk about academics, but think about what the coaches are dealing with.
Yeah.
Because darn good and well that you're going to lose some of your second and third string guys.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to go out and fill those holes because, this is a win every year thing. Look at Florida State. You can go from being the hottest coach in the world to being a guy on the hot seat all year in 1 year. So that's a great point, Felder. I didn't even really think about the academic side of it, but there's so many distractions that if you could hear, Saban talking about rat poison in so many different ways now, there's just more of it. You have to manage so much. That's an awesome point. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say that most of these athletes, their number one priority right now is these football games.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I am obviously, again, I do think that having it be a bus ride is way better for them, and having it be a place that they're familiar in quotes, obviously, because they haven't played them, but they're not going to be outside. Like, they're not crossing the country. They're not changing times. Well, honestly, Indiana is the most insane state when it comes to time zones.
Yeah. Well, do you think you guys I think Indiana learns a lot from that loss?
Yes.
I think Cignetti's he had a great opportunity, probably, and I don't want to go into the not playing in the championship game, but with Notre Dame also not playing in that game, you get to get healthy. We'll talk about it when we talk about
health matters.
Look at what's happened to Ewers this year. He hasn't been himself. When you're beat up and you're not healthy, it affects the way you play this game.
So
it's simple.
Yeah. Hartzell, can we do that? You want to do Clemson in Texas?
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Let's
All right, Clemson in Texas. Okay, I've asked every single person this, Wayne. I haven't got a chance to ask you. Would you rather have Cade Klubnik or Quinn Ewers?
Great question.
Wow. Okay, so you know why this is such a great question? It's a great question. I've been a Ewers fan for a while, and I thought he took a step last year. I thought he was too cute when he was young. I got kind of frustrated with lazy feet sometimes because everybody that listens to me knows I hate that.
Yep.
I think this year, Cade's been better. Yeah. And I think he's played on a worse team, but I think he's been better. It's because Ewers, to me, here's what I get mad at. And I'm going to ask you, can we go DB quarterback dork stuff right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Can we do that? So I'm going to ask you a question as a defensive back. You're in zone.
Mm-hmm.
My eyes matter, correct?
Yes.
Like as a quarterback, like if I'm staring at guys,
I can't. It's not even eyes. It's where your face mask, where your shoulders and your face mask.
Okay. And again, I played safety in high school, and I used to laugh at quarterbacks. I used to be like, "Are you really that dumb?" Like, because you could just tell where they were going.
Like, for people that don't know, and anyone that's watching it's on the YouTube, right, Hartzell?
Yes, sir.
So there's two things that I'm looking for, right? And I'm glad I got a spinny chair. The first thing that I'm looking for is where your head moves. Mm-hmm. Okay, your head moves here. And then the next thing that I'm looking for is this right here.
Yep.
Are you going deep because your shoulders got to come up? Or are you going short because your shoulders going to go down? That's how I know where I've got to get this drop as a safety. I got to know, okay, he's looking to go over the top. When that shoulder comes up, he's going over the top. That's the only way he can make that throw. Because shoulder comes up, he's got that ball's going here. Shoulders here, he's pushing it straight. Like and then you're looking for, and you got to look for where his head is when you're playing zone coverage. Like you got to know where the head is, and you got to see through. This is the thing. I will say this is not to detour, but the thing I hate about a lot of schools that aren't Iowa, Wisconsin, even Clemson, Boston College does it really well as well. Even Syracuse does it really well. There's a lot of schools that play so much man that they don't learn. LSU has a problem with this because those players don't see through the man, carry a guy to their next guy. They don't see through the man to the quarterback. So they never read the shoulder and they never see the head.
So, and from a quarterback standpoint, I'm bringing this up for a reason, I promise. Yeah. From a quarterback standpoint, all of that stuff you talked about, when you play the really good ones, they can be here and say no, and then go to their next guy.
Yes.
And then go to their next guy. And they do it like that.
Yes.
And they're really, really good. And so when I watch a guy
really
like
good
Ewers,
ones can do it all the way across the field.
Exactly. And when I watch a guy like Ewers, I viewed him as that type of a quarterback. Mm-hmm. What bothers me, as I'm going to ask, this is why I bring this up, and there are two quarterbacks that do this. So many quarterbacks rely on their arm talent so much that they get lazy with their feet. We even see it at the NFL level.
Yep.
And Ewers is one of those guys. And I thought he would make strides. And I literally will blame coaches for this because it's your job to coach this out of them. You brought up Peyton Manning and Tom Brady earlier, or I don't care if it's Drew Brees. I like Dylan Gabriel's pocket feet. I love the way
I love him.
He's like a boxer, and he goes through his progressions really, really fast, and I love watching him play. Now I'm watching Drew Aller in the last game, in the championship game they played in, throw a flat-footed out route and throwing it 5 yards over the guy's head. I'm like, that is such a lazy throw. Now here's, I know we're going to go in off the weeds, but I want to finish this point because I think it's really important, Felder, and I know you're going to like this.
Yeah.
So we talked about using your eyes and even your body to get through and to make it hard on the defense. How about ball faking? I'm same thing about lazy feet. I watch Jackson Dart. I watch Drew Aller. I watch Quinn Ewers sometimes. When you do a ride, it's like a zone read type thing.
Yep.
This ties into all the zone. If you're just handing the ball off, you should still fake. But I watch these quarterbacks do the ride, then they just stand there and watch the play. And as a defensive player, if I accelerate like I have the ball or go back and do a ball fake with my hand,
bingo.
I could get one player to hesitate. It might give my running back an extra yards. And it's just like using your eyes. And everybody out there, watch these players sometimes. They're lazy with their feet, and they don't always fake. It drives me nuts, and I blame it on coaching. Stop catering to these five-star quarterbacks and make them do it right.
You have to finish the drill. Like the whole point is when you hand the ball off, when you hand that thing off, you need to carry out that rollout. You carry out the rollout. I know that. Like
this is why Felder, that some of these guys, when I predict their next, you mentioned Klubnik, who has had a wonderful year. I didn't watch Clemson as much as I should have.
Sure.
Because for whatever reason, it feels like their schedule's like, hey, whatever, do I need to watch that game?
Right.
But I love watching quarterbacks. I brought up Gabriel for a reason. I love watching quarterbacks play the position the right way, because at the next level, most quarterbacks fail. And they fail not because they're talent. It's a lot of other little things that cause them to fail. And this is one of them. And that's what's bothered me a little bit about Ewers this year, is I feel like he's taken a step back on the fundamental part of the game. I still think he's got all the talent in the world.
But the thing is, that means Sark has led him.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Hartzell, I'm going to ask you this, because I do think Clemson has an opportunity in this football game. If Cade and Antonio Williams, if they can come together and make things happen, and by the way, having that time off, that extra week, Maffa, that shoulder can get healed up. There's an opportunity there. But you mentioned, I see it in the doc, 2 snaps in the SEC championship game. How much Arch do you think we're going to see?
So apparently the Texas fans coming out of Atlanta were like, "What? Why did Arch not play more?" Now I don't know if that's been a thing all year.
It has.
Point, Wayne, about
Ewers
being banged up, and it's like, well, you've got Arch.
It has been. Have you? I don't know how much recruiting stuff you see whether from the portal or from what they're signing. This is a team that's going to be built to win a national championship next year. It's built for Arch Manning.
So in the SEC championship game, Ewers and that offense, I mean, no first half touchdowns. It's an ugly game, and I think the opportunity was there to put Arch in for a series. It didn't happen. Look, Sark knows way more about football than all of us do, right? Like, I give the man credit.
Sure,
but at some point, if that offense continues to struggle, like they couldn't run the ball against Georgia.
Nope.
And if the ground game isn't going against Clemson, I mean, you've got a dual threat guy in Arch who can get it done.
If they start playing both, they've got no chance.
That's the problem. Like, you have to make a decision. I think what I'm proposing is, because we saw this at Alabama, right, with Jalen Hurts and Tua. We've seen this where the whole team knows the other guy is better, but you ride with your guy as long as you can.
Go to Trip, jump in here.
I think it's fascinating that if you took a poll from people who watch college football and you said, who's the best quarterback in the college football playoff, I think Quinn Ewers probably wins that poll. If you took a poll and said, who's the guy most likely to get pulled from the game, I think it's also Quinn Ewers.
It's so true.
It's
he
a
wins
weird.
that one.
It's stupid. You guys, isn't this reminds me of why is Dylan Gabriel in Oregon right now? Doesn't it feel like, hey, we've got this guy, Jackson Arnold, that's sitting there. He's a 5-star recruit. He's more mobile. He's more this, more whatever your reasoning is.
Yeah.
And then Dylan Gabriel goes undefeated with Oregon and just does nothing but win. I mean, be careful because, like I said, when Quinn Ewers is right,
sure,
he could spin the rock. I mean, don't think I'm being like anti-Quinn Ewers. I just want him to tighten some stuff up a little bit.
There's a reason he's one of the highest rated recruits of all time.
Yeah.
Ever.
Like,
Yeah.
he can play.
He can throw.
So he can play. It just it's a matter of you have to be in here.
So okay.
Between the ears.
You
have to be in there. And you know what, Wayne? Let me ask you this.
But can I please just interject real quick because this is important. We bring up the Tua moment like it's that moment of why every coach should bench their starting quarterback. Jalen Hurts has maybe gone on to be the better player.
Sure.
But the idea of that game, if you remember, is Tua almost blew it.
Sure.
They had taken a sack, and I was on the sidelines for that moment.
No, I know.
What happened there was in Alabama, in the era of everything's going to go our way.
Yeah,
was it? I mean, I watched it and I went, really? I go, that could have gone 1 out of 100 times, and not been a win.
But
that was kind of like.
But I do think that they were like, we could be better based upon all their receiving options. We could be better if Tua's in the game, and obviously we saw it the next season too. So that's what I mean with respect to Arch. Like
this is the opposite, though, right? We could be better with a running quarterback. Is what you're saying?
No, Arch can throw too. Like Arch is not like. Yeah, Arch has got a great arm. No, what I was going to ask you was about, and I forgot to put this in the Felder 5, but what have you seen when you're down on the sidelines? What have you seen, speaking of being on the sidelines, what have you seen with the comms? Because I think the comms are screwing up teams so hard.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it. I think it there's two. I saw it at UCLA all year with Bieniemy trying to get in plays, and our quarterback was going, I think he called his own plays sometimes because he couldn't get in the play correctly. I think there should be a study done. I would love to hear coaches talk about it because there are teams that are still using the old-fashioned way. Signaling in plays, and it could be much more efficient. But that goes into the whole thing of a lot of these quarterbacks that have elaborate signal calling. They also are the teams that have the quarterbacks go up and then look over at the coaches. What do I do here? And so there's pros and cons to both. I think it would drive me crazy to have a coach in my ear that long.
Yeah.
But it is. Hey, but the whole don't we? Does anybody think when we talk about Arch Manning that we don't know enough yet? Like,
I don't think we know enough.
I don't think we know enough. I mean, I think if you play a quarterback like that in a big game like this, and he plays the whole game, you're going to see a young quarterback. You're going to.
Yes, I totally agree.
Arch did play a quarter of the season for Texas. I mean, the guy.
No, I'm not saying
he
hasn't played. I'm not saying he hasn't played. And Texas has won all of their games except against Georgia. And they may not have to. And by the way, they lost in overtime.
Yeah,
like the last one. So it's not like they're very far off, and they still have a dominant defense. Which again, I'm going to keep going down this road. Clemson's defense is the worst that we're going to see in these first 4 games.
Yeah,
by quite a bit. Quite a bit.
My biggest concern, Wayne, I'm glad you brought up Texas's defense, man. Those guys, it's going to be really tough for Clemson to sustain drives. Can you move the football 10 plays, 75 yards against these guys? It hasn't really happened all season.
That's why I brought up. I think Cade has to hit. He's got to find Williams on those explosive plays. It's the opposite of Indiana. They've got to find. They got to create mistakes.
What's that?
I mean, I said they haven't played any quarterbacks all season, but it's not true. Like the A&M win, that's a good win. That was a good win. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm overstating it a little bit because they did play Taylon Green That was only 10 points there.
Yes, my boy Taylor at
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Yes.
So maybe
Feaster
I've been a
famine
little too down on Texas.
Not Jalen.
Maybe
Not
that.
Well,
Jalen.
but I just read this the other day and I thought about it. I mean, with Clemson, it feels like Cade's got to play really well for them
Yes.
to win. Like
Absolutely.
he's their focal point. I think feels like Texas has more weapons.
They do.
So Cade's if we're going to go ahead and say right now, the way the health issues and everything, if Cade's the better quarterback for Clemson to win, Cade's going to have a big time game.
Absolutely
I will
agree.
also say this, like Cade Klubnik, he's a Texas guy, right? Grew up in Austin. Like this is a homecoming game for him. And the way the bracket shakes out, like I'm not here to throw dirt on Arizona State. It's a great football team. But the winner of this game will be favored against Arizona State in the Peach Bowl. They just will.
Yeah.
And so you look at the way the bracket shakes out. We'll talk about this with SMU Penn State. Same deal. Winner gets Boise. Like there is a path here to the college football playoff semifinals, and you've got to like your chances if you're in these games.
Oregon got screwed, by the way.
I mean, I'm not going to push back on that. It's not a favorable draw for the Ducks. You're not wrong, but they get the extra week.
Well, because I still have a hard time not thinking Ohio State might not still be the most talented team.
See, I
Let's
have
talk about guys. Let's go there.
I have
Saturday
a
night.
really hard time. So there's a couple things. Wayne, your father, you're a teacher. Can you imagine watching one of your kids, one of your students be distraught like Jack Sawyer was, and watching your kids fight, watching their go all this stuff, and not being a person that steps in there and breaks it up, which we saw Sherrod Moore do, or when Jack Sawyer is like truly losing it, not going up there and consoling one of your players, one of your students, one of your your sons. Can you imagine not doing that?
No.
Okay, yeah. That's so I always talk to my dad. My dad also did my dad did 20 plus years in education. He's retired now. Yeah. And I asked him about it and he said the same thing. He goes, "Do you remember when I lost the state when we lost the state semifinals to Chris Leak?"
Go Gator.
Chris Leak.
My dad jumped down. We played at Memorial Stadium here in Charlotte, where we ran that Mech Mile, Hartzell.
Yeah.
That's where I played my state semifinal.
That's where your high school football career ended, right there?
No, that was my junior year.
Oh, okay.
My high school football career ended in West Forsyth, at West Forsyth, actually.
It's in Salem, Clemens, dog. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right
So
there.
my mom said you need to go get him, and my dad jumped down because you saw that how big they got that rock wall.
Yes.
My dad jumped down from there, ran and grabbed me because I was freaking out about losing the game. And to see, like, my high school coach was hugging me, and my dad came down and grabbed me and was like, "We're going to be okay," and walked me back into the locker room. To see Ryan Day stand there blank-faced while his captain, now we're not talking about a portal guy. We're talking about a guy that played there. He was there for what, 5 years, I think? 4 years?
Yeah.
Senior.
0-4 against Michigan. Tough.
0-4,
Tough.
bro.
Tough.
And you don't go and give him, show love to him and say, "I'm sorry I let you down," or "I'm sorry." Like, you don't go and say, "Come on, man, let's hold it together." Like, you don't do that.
Bro, Ryan Day was he was in shock. Okay, he had just seen his dog get hit in the middle of the road. Like, he couldn't move. He was frozen. Tough. I hate it.
So couple things here, and this is my problem with Ohio State as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think their talent is, and I would argue that Howard played tight in that game because of his head coach. And I'll tell you why in a second.
I agree. You know what
hang on, wait.
You know what I call him?
Yeah.
Perfect play, Ryan Day.
It's not. Hey, he's not calling the plays though. This is production.
Trust me, though, your head coach matters.
He's the king of trying to engineer a perfect play against the defense, and this is where the comms come in. Right. He's talking. You hit the 15-second mark. Will Howard's looking around. The defense moves, and now the perfect play that you thought you called, it's not the perfect play anymore because they're not there. They're not where you thought they were going to be. So now Will Howard doesn't know what to do.
Right.
And so now we have mistakes. 10 games, 10 points in a college football game.
Yeah.
Bro.
So let's do this. So I played for my dad. He was my high school football coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so we lost a lot of games my last 2 years in high school, and like bad teams. And so we quarterback, head coach, we took it together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can relate to what you're talking about. Like we
Yeah.
had to be like we both knew we were the two smartest guys out there, and that if it wasn't, and that it was
Right.
it was a talent issue. But when I went to college, my offensive coordinator Homer Smith had a saying that on game day, the quarterback is always right. So like if something went wrong, he would always ask, "Hey, what'd you see? Like where was the safety on that play?" And he was such a great coach the way he taught. And even if I made mistakes, he'd come up to me after the game and he'd say, like, "Wayne, we didn't practice that enough. That's my fault. We're going to get better at that."
That sounds like Jeff
I love that. Ryan Day comes across to me as the guy that is very tightly wrapped. He looks like he's so close to imploding quite a bit. He looks like in interviews and stuff like that. So the stress that he thinks that I could feel coming out of him.
We can feel it.
His players can feel it, and that's I think where we're both going. Like your coaches matter a ton on setting the tone of how you play.
Yes.
And as a quarterback, when things start going wrong, you don't want to have a coach that looks like his head's about to explode on the sidelines. You want to have someone with poise that's going to talk you through it. Hey, we've seen it a lot. You watch Kenny Dillingham coach.
Yeah.
Watch the way he interacts with his players. I mean, as a young coach, he's very advanced at that. Like
He's
I think
smooth.
he does a great job. He's very smooth. And by the way, that guy's got quirky, weird energy too. I mean, like Signetti's got a different type of personality. Sometimes I think he's a little bit tightly wrapped. I worry about that.
Yeah.
But you're right about Day. But here's my problem. They're in the playoffs. I think Howard's better. He's had a very good year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's better than he played against Michigan. And if they can figure out a way, I do believe that Chip Kelly, even though he has some quirks and sometimes he gets stuck. Remember, I had a very up close. Sometimes he gets stuck on. Sometimes he gets stuck on things, and it's like he wants certain things to work, and when they don't work, he doesn't always adjust as fast as he should.
Right.
But I still think Ohio State's very dangerous because at the end of the day,
they are.
At the end of the day, they've got a ton of talent.
Like if we look at this field, Wayne.
Yeah.
I think Tennessee, Ohio State. Who else do we like? I think Tennessee and Ohio State are probably the two most dangerous teams.
Two really good defenses again, too. By the way, 1 and 4. Yeah. I mean, like this is two teams that are going to bring it. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think offensively, Ohio State should have the advantage.
They should, but what if they? I just the big thing for me is if Tennessee jumps out hot. Because Nico played his best game the last game of the season.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. He played his best game. Yeah. And then Ryan Day, like we mentioned, seizes up. Now you got a problem. Yeah. If you have 3 NFL wide receivers, 3 NFL wide receivers is what they have. And you only scored 10 points.
Yeah.
That's against the really like a super mid Michigan team. Like that's a problem. So I think this Tennessee Ohio State game, it's got an opportunity to be that's the one that I'm looking at like, man.
You're you're leaning Tennessee, aren't you?
I'm leaning, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't disagree with anything that you said.
Yeah, I've read there's going to be 20 or 30,000 Tennessee fans at the LSU Saturday.
Somebody else told me that too.
Yeah, they bought a ton of tickets. And to your point about Ryan Day, the fans have already, I don't know about all of them, but a significant portion of those fans are already like,
they're out.
F this guy. Like, let's lose so that we can move on. Because if they don't,
that's why there's going to be 30,000 Tennessee fans there.
Right, because these Buckeye fans are like, we're done. 4 in a row to Michigan. Let's just get it over with.
Did you hear what he said in the press conference?
No. What do you say?
He basically said the Michigan game doesn't really matter because we're trying to get into the playoff and win a national championship.
I mean, it's not going to sit
Bad
well
look.
with the old faithful.
That's a bad
up there.
look. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think? What do you make of Nico? Because this guy on the road has struggled. He struggled away from home, right?
I think he
Super
struggled.
talented,
He's struggled all year.
especially in road games.
At
Especially
home,
in road.
at home, and on the road. I don't think he's been very good up until that last football game.
Against Vandy?
Yeah, against Vandy. The 4-touchdown game, and we can say, well, it's Vandy, but we all watched Vandy.
They trailed 14-0 in the first quarter. Like
Yeah.
they had to play their tail off to get back in that
Yes,
game and,
I
and
totally
ultimately
agree.
pull away to win. Yeah.
I know that people are like, well, it's Vandy. But like, no, but like Diego Pavia and like that team that's a team that beat Alabama. That's a team that went out there and took care of business a couple times. So I think that Nico Iamaleava is a good football player. I think that Heupel is spoon feeding him. And I will say this, Wayne, I think he's spoon feeding him in the right way. Because what's Dylan
Sampson. I want to
is
talk to Sampson.
I want to talk. Yeah, he's the star of the show.
Yeah, he's a monster.
He's very good. Their defense also very good. Wayne, let me ask you this. What do you think about these kind of new defenses? Whether it's Tennessee, it's Ole Miss, UNC plays that way as well. These defenses where they don't have a lot of big. Texas is also, because they lost their two big guys last year. These smaller defenses that are just like knifing through everything and playing behind the line of scrimmage and just trying to be disruptive.
So I love it, by the way. I've always been a fan of athleticism. If you can get a giant in the middle,
right,
that can clog up a couple blockers, and then you have nothing but athletes that can run. It's the modern. Everybody's too fast in these offenses. The way they get the ball out, the way they do, you have to have athletes. You have to have sideline to sideline. You just can't have linebackers that plug holes anymore.
Yeah,
you have to be able to run sideline to sideline. And so, and what's crazy about this is when I spent a lot of time on defense, is I started looking at rush defenses, and I'm like, man, I go, Texas is 13, Indiana's 1, Penn State's 9, Tennessee's 8, Ohio State's 7. Like, so, yeah, they have athletes, but they're stopping the run as well. Yeah. And so, to me, that matters. And just I'll circle back to the quarterback stuff. You're playing against elite defenses, and you're the youngest quarterback going.
Yeah.
That has to be a factor. It just does. I'm expecting a turnover or two, and young. I hope not. I always look for that special young quarterback that's above that, but they're hard to find. Usually when a young quarterback is successful is when they're so good everywhere else, you can hide them. You talked about spoon feeding, but when you have to play in a game where you're going to – I don't think Ohio State's going to have another game like Michigan. I really don't. So
no, I don't think so.
I expect them to score points. So it'll be interesting. That's like one of my more intriguing things. I want to see how Iamaleava plays in this game. I'm curious because I think he's going to be really good. But think of all the other quarterbacks that are playing in this right now. We have a ton of – just like last year. We have a ton of experienced quarterbacks that have been around and played a ton of games. And so that's a factor to me.
No, and by the way, Hartzell, can you just like give us a shout out? Because both of us did pronounce his name.
Oh, congratulations for correctly pronouncing.
Well, Hartzell, we had to work on it, remember?
Yeah,
we had to work on it.
We
struggled with it.
Yeah, but we've the college football season's 8 months long now. So by the time it wraps up, everybody knows how to pronounce these guys' names. Let's go to Happy Valley, man. SMU Penn State. You're talking about young quarterbacks, Wayne. Kevin Jennings is the truth, man. Like SMU, you can say like this is a prove it game. Can SMU silence the doubters and like prove that they belong because this was the bubble team that got in over Bama? I think SMU is going to give Penn State problems. Okay, I know it's going to be freezing up there. I know it's going to be cold.
Shout out to our guy Roddy.
Shout out to Roddy. He will be on the call. This is the early game Saturday.
He's a star, guys.
It's on
Roddy's
TNT.
A star.
Look, if you don't know, most people don't check in on TNT until March Madness rolls around. Find TNT. Like, you got to find it because you got 2 games. This
Doesn't
and
know
Texas.
TNT does nothing but show fantastic movies all the time.
Yeah, it's Channel
How can you
26.
not-
What are you
come
talking
on.
about?
How can you not know TNT?
I'm
Channel
just making
26.
sure people out there know because look, the ratings are going to be off the charts, man. This is box office stuff. Like TNT,
Yeah.
ESPN, like they're like, let's go. Like they've been building for this. This is why we've been getting all these rinky-dink trash bowl games all week. The schedule is all jacked up. They've cleared the runway for Saturday, and here it comes. This is why we got to put 2 games on Turner Sports.
Hey, Felder. So again, I saw Penn State at Penn State, 110,000 people.
Yep.
And I walked away going, I did. I walked away going, I learned as the year progressed that UCLA was better than their record. And our defense, we were a top 10 rush defense.
Yep.
We kind of shut down their run game. And so
They can't do it.
I was a little, and Drew Aller's a guy that I was like, I don't know. They protect him a little bit. He's a very much they're going to run, throw type. They've got a great tight end.
Here's the thing. All you have to do is find out where 44 is.
Right.
And this is the other thing. I think he should change his number to 8 or 0 or something because 44, I would argue, with the except maybe 47, 44 is the most recognizable number in football. You can see it anywhere. Like it's not hard to hide that. And so every play, and I'm watching teams, and I'm seeing there are some teams that when we're playing, some teams are like, he's right here. He's right here. Yeah. Other teams are just like lining up, trying to play football. I'm like, I think that maybe goes into the defensive comms, but every single play, SMU should have, whether it's a safety or a linebacker or something, they should have somebody pointing out 44.
Absolutely.
Where is he going to be at? Where is he lined up at? And making sure that they get that defensive line shifted or making sure their linebackers are prepared or making sure they bring a safety down. But you need to know where 44 is, Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
44. Where is 44? I don't know if you've had that, but like obviously quarterbacks ID the mic or ID this, but you also had when you played against really outstanding defensive linemen, you're like, oh, hey, we're gonna slide to him. We're gonna slide to him. Defense has to know where this guy is. It's like Percy Harvin or any of the other stuff.
It's a little bit different from a quarterback standpoint when it's an outside receiver versus and they move him around a ton.
Sure.
And use him in a lot of creative ways. But if you're going to bracket, if you're going to do what you're going to do to try to stop him, if you're smart as a play caller, and it opens up what you do in your run game, it opens up what you do with other stuff.
Sure.
I think Penn State's gotten better as the season's progressed. But I'm going to pose and I actually am picking Penn State in this game. But I don't know how far Penn State's going to go.
Sure.
But at the end of one of the things I will say is I actually think Coach Franklin is a similar situation, not as bad as Ryan Day. I think he needs to do well because there's been too many seasons where I can't win the big game.
Yep.
And he's another guy that Ryan Day doesn't hide it. He doesn't look cool when he's stressed. He just looks stressed.
Yes.
Coach Franklin looks a little bit cooler when he's stressed, but I could still tell he's stressed.
Yes.
There's a little bit of the way he answers questions. Sometimes there's a little passive aggressiveness that sometimes you see. So I think, again, the Penn State and Ohio State are two teams that are now they're in. Penn State's been wanting this chance, and they've been the number one team that everybody said they're going to benefit the most from this because they've been sitting behind Michigan and Ohio State forever.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of stress. And if they lose to SMU, which whether we're giving enough credit to, because I agree with you guys, SMU has been fantastic. Fun team to watch. But this is a must-win for Penn State.
Yeah.
It's a must-win for Penn State.
This man could be out here sounding like Charlie Brown. Not again.
It's a deep cut.
No.
I agree. I think you got pressure in Columbus, State College, and South Bend too. I mean, Sark, there's a little bit of a longer leash there in Austin for obvious reasons.
Sure.
But yeah, look, the cool thing about what this whole weekend is going to provide is obviously it's our first run through of this.
Right.
And look, folks, in 2 years, this thing's going to be a 16-team field. Like, enjoy the 12 teams while it lasts, because this thing's going to get ramped up even more. We can save that for another day and another time. But the pressure that's on these home teams, the ability for a school like Penn State, Wayne, like the path to the semis for those guys. Home game against SMU, then you got Boise in the Fiesta. Like, let's get, like, this is it. Like, like Felder and I talk about this all the time. If not now, when? Like,
right.
You got Drew Aller. Yeah. You got all these running backs. You got elite playmakers on defense. You got the best tight end in the country. Like, this is it.
This is really good football. This is really good football. You have to admit that.
Yeah.
Let me ask.
There's going to be some really good football games. I mean, I could be wrong. There could be blowouts but I think I'm looking at these matchups and I'm going, come on, bring it on. Let's go.
So let me ask you something, Wayne. This is like it's. You mentioned the Fiesta Bowl, Hartzell. What does this Fiesta Bowl look like? Penn State, SMU, doesn't matter. Boise State. What does this Fiesta Bowl week look like? Because I know it's not going to look like a few years ago. I know it's not going to look like when you're just going to a bowl game where you get to, go out with your boys and have fun and enjoy yourself. I haven't seen. Do you guys remember when the gift list was like a big deal?
The gift suite.
Yeah.
These kids all have money now. Like, they're all getting paid.
Sure.
Well, not only that, but if they want a new pair of shoes, they get a new pair of shoes. If they want a new pair of sweats, they get a new pair of sweats. I mean, it's like bowl week every day.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like PS4s and like or PS5s in this case, or whatever it is. Like, I was talking to someone yesterday and I showed them this. This is a thing that I like. This is in my office, and this will always be in my office. But it's fine.
Continental Tire Bowl.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's go.
Yeah. So it's not going to be like these guys are on a business trip when they go to the Fiesta Bowl. They're not doing like the Lowry's Beef Bowl, right?
I know you didn't ask me, Felder, but just real quick, Wayne, I didn't, obviously I'm not the former player here. These smaller bowls are going to start losing money because schools and fans aren't going to be buying the tickets that keep them financially solvent. You're going to have to rethink this whole thing. Yep. Like, I think in the future, like, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. It could be sooner than that, frankly.
Well,
you're going to have to rethink the experience for student athletes. The portal is ravaging these rosters, man.
Oh yeah, the Marshall situation is also that's on my list as well. Like the Marshall thing.
Well, we've done this to ourselves, though, you guys. I mean,
this is what people ask for.
I understand.
Stephen, I agree with you on this because the bowl games are getting pathetic. There's still a fun experience for the players.
I agree with that.
I will tell you, in the 90s, I played in a Rose Bowl, which was the Super Bowl back then.
Yes.
For Pac-10 players. And we got a watch, and we got our, Pac-10 championship rings, and we got a little bit of clothes that aged really quickly. And
my
it was
mom
like
still has my Continental Tire Bowl hoodie.
I mean, I have a watch from an All-Star game I played in. I have a watch from the John Hancock Bowl, which is the Sun Bowl. And then I have a Rose Bowl. But for the most part, we got nothing. And we were just excited playing the game. What we've done is we've created a world where the athletes are always looking at, well, what more can I get? That's a problem. And the transfer portal, the Marshall thing's a joke. It's nuts what's happening. Yeah, I love that, Felder. I love that.
I don't know why you don't wear that grocery shopping, man. I really don't. I'd wear that everywhere.
We've done this to ourselves. And by the way, the Diego Pavia news, I agree with Sark. I do, and it is funny. Someone posted out that a guy that came from BYU's making fun of guys playing college football at 28, 29 years old, which, if you know anything about BYU, a lot of their players go on missions. And then they come back and they're quite a bit older. But we've lost our minds because, let's be honest, the courts don't give a crap about college football. They're making these rulings on individuals, and they think it's almost like a civil rights. Everybody has rights, but there has to be some restraints. High school athletes are going to get screwed. They're going to. It's unbelievable what's happening to high school athletes, and it happened during COVID. And now with the transfer portal, people are looking at the transfer portal in many cases harder than they're looking at the 5-star guys in high school are still going to be fine. 4-star guys are still going to be fine, but those 3-star diamond in the rough type athletes, they're going to have to go JC route now. and it's or small college. So I don't know. I agree with some of these older coaches when they complain about some of this stuff. And everybody always says, well, you're making $10 million a year. Shut up, old man. But you guys, just because someone's making a lot of money doesn't mean they're not smart and they don't know what they're talking about. Nick Saban's having a huge problem with a lot of this stuff too. And people, I think we should listen a little bit. I think we should.
I think what we're in right now is we're in the wilderness.
Very much so.
And so things haven't been because things are changing so rapidly. We haven't had an ability to sit with something and allow things to course correct. And I think that's the part that people are going to realize is that we have to course correct. And when I say course correct, I think, and look, everyone's going to talk about NIL. They're going to talk about the settlement. They're going to talk about transfer portal. I think the number one issue facing college football is retention. How do I make guys want to stay? And I think that's the part where you then have to figure out, one, who you're recruiting, two, know that family, three, make it a benefit for them to stay and make it more of a benefit than just money. That's the part that's going to be, it's hard to do,
it's hard. Yep.
But that's what you have to do, because football is not basketball.
Right.
And Hartzell, you've heard me say this already, but football's not basketball. Basketball, one and dones. In football, if I have an offensive line, if I got a defensive line, if I got a linebacking core, if I got a secondary, I need those guys to play together for 2-3 years.
Yep.
We can introduce a new piece, but it cannot be all. I can't look, my wife is a mad nerd, dog. Like she's a puzzler. That's what they call each other. I don't know if you guys know this.
That's
they call
somebody
each other,
who likes puzzles. They call them puzzlers.
They call themselves puzzlers.
That's interesting. Okay.
And
fits.
Yeah. If you take a piece from this puzzle in that puzzle in that puzzle, you know what they don't do? They don't fit. And football is a puzzle. And you have to have fit. Why do you think Iowa consistently wins football games? Because they consistently have 8 guys that have played together along the offensive line. They've got 9 guys that have played together in the secondary over the course of that 5 years, right? Like in 6 years, they'll have 9-10 guys that have all gotten major snaps. And that's why who plays better zone defense than Iowa? Who plays better cover 2 and cover 3 than Iowa? Nobody. On a consistent basis, nobody. And you can't just keep moving the pieces around. And so there's a couple different things here. I think retention is the biggest issue that these head coaches are going to have to deal with. It is hard. It's a lot more work because you have to recruit from the high school. You have to recruit from the portal, but you also have to retain guys that are on your roster. But at the same time, I do think we have to do a better job of teaching our kids about the importance, it's not even of winning, about stability. Yep. And I'll be honest, I'll go back to the academic well, Wayne. You know what doesn't transfer when you transfer? Them goddamn credits, baby. Yep. I can tell you that right now. I played with Gerald Sensabaugh, and my man was a senior at East Tennessee State. He came to UNC. They bounced his ass back to being a sophomore, and he was like, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to go back to East Tennessee State after this is done to get my degree because you can move around all you want, but those credits don't move with you. That's a fact. Like I'm not great. I wasn't great at school, but I do know that the credits don't move with you. They don't accept all those credits.
You're speaking my language, Felder. Like that's everything you just said. I 100% agree with. We're losing some of the stuff that's made college football valuable to so many athletes, and we act like. I kind of struggle with the idea that we act like every family out there needs their child to make money so they survive till tomorrow. I'm like, come on, do we have to make this so dramatic? I mean, I get it. Families need money. I'm not dumb.
Sure,
but
no, I understand
they've survived this long without it. Like. You could still get your education. I know I'm going down a different road right now, but like the idea that a player can have a really good year, be a starter, and knows, like in the NFL, you have to wait till your contract's up, that knows that I could basically enter the portal and I'm going to get recruited by both schools now. So now you have a bidding war between your school that wants to keep you, and coaches have to be like, they have to be tough enough to say, you know what, you want to go, bye, and have confidence that they can go out and find someone else that may be an upgrade. Like, we're going to go get someone better than you. But as you pointed out, and I'll give you a great example of this, as a quarterback, we work, for hours and hours and hours and hours on timing. Yeah. I just ran into my All-American.
Yes, exactly.
I just ran into my All-American, J.J. Stokes, Heisman Trophy candidate, this last year at a game, and we were laughing about, remember that Arizona play where I just kind of broke off my play and went this way? Remember the SE game when I ran the corner when I was supposed to run a post? And it was like we just kind of knew each other to
exactly.
And what you're talking, linemen, DBs, you said it so well, and I just was thinking of my own personal examples.
Yeah.
When you have the same guys every year, you just develop this. First of all, you love each other.
Yes.
And I think people don't understand how much as teammates we love each other. All of us, you do this too, Felder. When we run into a player that we haven't seen in 10, 15, 20 years, we hug him like we saw him yesterday.
Yeah.
And I get these huge smiles. I just ran into Travis Kershke, who played in the NFL forever. A great defensive lineman that was a rookie, was a freshman on my Rose Bowl team. And he played. He was that good. Yeah. Played for Pittsburgh Steelers forever. And, man, I was like, man, it's so good to see you. I first of all, I was like, is that Travis? Because people change.
Yeah.
and then it was like I almost forgot I was broadcasting because we just started talking because that's your boy. That's like someone that you love, that you went to battle with. And I worry that these kids don't even realize, because it starts in high school now, Felder. So many players start transferring at young ages that it's a norm to them.
Guys move across the country to play. Obviously, that's not, and I'm not even talking about like IMG. I'm talking about like guys going from California to go play football at Georgia, or guys doing vice versa. Like, we're seeing that. So, but no, wait, like, I took my dad to the Jumpman Invitational on Tuesday, and I saw a couple of my old teammates. And it was
your alma mater catch that L too.
Yeah, they're not good. They're trying to fire Hubert Davis right now. Guy that again,
Duke.
So, but like, I saw a couple of my old teammates, and it was truly like bear hugs, and I still like, because thanks to, and I will say this, people, they talk a lot of trash about social media, but Instagram is why I interface with my old teammates more than anywhere. And we send each other reels, and we talk about, hey, do you remember this time when we got into that fight? Or do you remember when we got kicked out of this bar? Or do you remember when you were dating that girl and blah, blah. And like this whole, do you remember when, like, all this stuff? And I wonder though, and I will to go back to the other side, I do wonder if these kids, whether it's via like overtime or 7-on-7 camps or like the opening and all that stuff, these kids are so connected to each other that it's becoming a lot more like basketball.
Yep. I agree.
Except for someone like a Jack Sawyer, who is Ohio State through and through, like born in Columbus, raised in Ohio, went to Ohio State, played there for 4 years. He's not a guy that has like if you talk to these like Elite 11 quarterbacks, like these guys they're all friends. There's not like that competition element to most of it. It's, I like him, he likes me, we are friends. Like between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, right? Like those guys both were like, yeah, we like each other. What are you talking about? We're friends. Right. And so there's that other interesting element where when you throw in social media, when they know that they can talk to each other via Twitter, Instagram, all that, and they have each other's, text messaging and all this, it's way easier for them to be like, hey man, you should come play with me now.
Yep. You're right. And I Felder, you're on fire today. I love this stuff because it's true that because players know each other. We didn't. I remember playing when I was with the Cardinals for a little bit. I played with a defensive lineman for Washington State, And his first thing he said to me was, "Man," it goes, "I thought you were a dick. You were just this UCLA guy. And you're pretty big." And I laughed, and we had a night off, and so we were out drinking together, which is where you really get to know people.
Yeah.
And it was just like, "No, I'm a regular guy." I'm like, but back then in the early '90s, we didn't run across the field to give a bro hug to the other quarterback.
Right.
I didn't know you. Matter of fact, I didn't really like you that much. And it was very poor sportsmanship, but it was a totally different time because what Felder just pointed out, there's so many, but there was only a few camps too.
Yeah.
Like, so if you went, I found out, I was at a camp with like Mark Brunell or someone like that, and I didn't even know it. Right. I don't remember that. Like the All-Star game I played in that doesn't exist anymore. The Blue-Gray game.
Here we go.
No, Terrell Davis and Curtis Martin were in the game, and I didn't realize that till years later.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I played with 2 Hall of Famers in that game, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, because we were just regular guys. Yeah. But now everybody knows everybody, and everybody's been built up on social media, and so. That's a very great point. It's easier to move around now because you're not going in blind. You probably already know 10, 15 people on. So you walk in first day, and it's not like, I'm at a new school. I don't know anybody. It's like you have boys there already.
Yep. Like, and I will, to continue on that before we get to the picks, it's like for me going to UNC, I'm from Charlotte. So I had probably 20 kids from my high school plus 40 other kids that not football players, but 40 other kids that I knew from Myers Park, Charlotte Latin, Charlotte Catholic, from Providence Day, from South Mech. I knew all those kids. So when we got to school, like the football players stuck with the football players because that's all they knew. They were together this summer. I had this expansive group of people that I already knew. Because I'm from here. We send the most people to UNC. And so I had other friends. And what I realized is the football players ran with me because, and this is something I don't think one of my coaches understood. He's like, why are they hanging out with this preferred walk-on? They're like, oh, because he knows everyone already. He already knows, he knows the girl that lives in the suite over from me. He knows this guy that can go and get his beer. He knows this guy. So I do think because they all know each other, there is this feeling of comfort, and I think it's we're living in an interesting era, and I do think that what I hope we do is I wish we could get to a stopping point and then let everything course correct. And then make a decision. Because, Hartzell, you said in a couple of years we're going to go to 16. Then that doesn't give us time in this 12 to figure out what this looks like. And I'll be selfish. I don't know what it looks like for me. I don't know what this this is supposed to be a time when I am going to go to this dance recital, but this is supposed to be like a break, and then we do a thing. Yeah. So, and it's not that. And I don't know what it looks like for the kids. I don't know what it looks like for these universities. We already talked about the exams. We've already talked about this. What's the point of having on-campus games if that's the day? It's during exams. Roddy's already in at State College, right? Roddy's already there, and so is all of the trucks, everything that they need to put a game on. And these kids are still going to take exams, and then you have all the dorms. I don't know, but for you guys, but at my school, the dorms closed over. Yeah. Now, if you lived off campus, no problem. You could stay there. But if you lived in a dorm, the dorm's closed. So you're losing all these students that are supposed to give you a home field advantage. So we have to retool this whole thing. We have to retool this whole thing for football so that we can do this.
Felder,
I just want to stop and let us course correct and figure it out and then move forward.
Not only did they not stop, they added the whole, by the way, your junior college years aren't going to count anymore.
I just saw that too.
They're just adding to it. They're just
just saw
adding
that
to
too.
it. So
These people make it up as they go along. That's kind of how this has been.
are we doing picks today, or are we
Yes.
not doing picks?
Someone said that Cam Newton could go back to junior college, and I was like, good grief.
Let's do it. He's got eligibility left. I'll take him. Yes, Wayne, you have
Let's
10
do
minutes
it.
left in the show because you got to go teach.
I know, you got to go.
Although, I will say this, man. It's the last day of school before the holiday break. You know you're going to put a movie on. You know you're
we got a modified day today, too.
Private Ryan. And
modified day. Picking my kid up
one.
from the airport this afternoon who's coming back from Chico State. So
nice.
It's going to be a good day today.
That kid's going to have dreadlocks. You're probably not
and being on Felder Friday is a dream. If you could be on Felder Friday, it's like I'm moving up in the world.
Yes.
Dude,
all right.
1:30, I am 1:30. I've got my kid. By the way, Wayne, Steven is not going to – Steven didn't go to his kid's holiday party.
Why would I want to I want to corral a bunch of sugared up
I'm going. I've got mine.
20 kids in that class. It's a free-for-all.
Yeah,
no thanks.
We've got 24 in our class, and I'm going at 1:30. I will be there.
Ooh,
pass. That's a hard pass for me. All right, so here's the deal. I would like some official on-the-record picks. I would like picks from each of you. We'll go in chronological order. Friday night, Indiana at Notre Dame. Felder, who you got?
Give me Indiana tonight.
Upset special.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're doing with the spread, correct?
Trip, if you want to pick against the spread, you are welcome to. Felder and Wayne aren't huge, ATS guys. So
well, we can just save our 3-for-all for later because we're still doing it. It's college football playoff.
I mean, I feel like you already took the loss, but if you want me to pick playoff games against the spread, I will. Wayne, who you got?
I think I'm picking an upset here too. I like Indiana.
Really? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Love it. Trip, anything for you in South Bend tonight?
I like Indiana too.
Wow. Now I want to go Notre Dame.
Now I'm really scared.
I was just going to say, whenever this happens, it's not good. By the way, we didn't talk about Marcus Freeman at all, but a quick loss here also adds a little stress to his world too.
But
yeah.
But what is it?
No, because it's Notre Dame. Notre Dame fans are like any of the blue blood fans.
Yes, they are.
They always think they're a national championship winner, and when you're not, that wasn't a knock on Freeman's had a great year this year.
Very good year.
But
Riley Leonard has been amazing, by the way.
Absolutely. And so this is a tricky call, and I'm surprised we all went that way. I'm
going to stick with it. I'm sticking with it.
All right, let's go to Saturday at noon. Wayne, you're up first. SMU at Penn State.
Penn State. Again, I think this is going to be tricky, but I think the Penn State's going to be able to push them around a little bit, and I think they'll win because of that.
They're going to push them around. That's the problem, and that's what gives me a little bit of pause. Is they're going to push them around, and we saw Clemson push them around too, right? So yeah, I'll take Penn State. I don't like it, but I'll take it.
I know. I would like to see SMU win. I would too, but I think Penn State wins.
Doc,
I'm a little worried that SMU might look like, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. UNLV at Boise, they just looked really, really cold up there. They looked out of place. I'm worried about that with SMU, but I'm taking
worried about that with Roddy.
Plus, and it's up to 9.5.
What
right now? I like SMU with the points.
I feel like that's a bad line. All right, SMU and the points, but that's just against the spread. You don't have them to win. You just like them to cover the spread.
I don't have them. Yeah.
All right. 4:00 in Austin. The weather will not be a problem. Clemson at Texas. Temperatures will be in the 60s. Wayne, who you got?
I got Texas. I think I spent a lot of time looking at defense. Yeah. And I know Texas' schedule is. I don't think Texas is going to have a Georgia type game. I think they'll play better. I do like Klubnik. If he goes off, it could throw Rich in this.
Yeah.
If he has that game, but I like Texas here.
Yeah, I'm going to take Texas. I think that. Honestly, I think Sark is just in the lab right now, and I think that's the reason I'm picking them. I think we're going to see some plays that we have not seen all year. And it's going to be wild. Some crazy route combos, some of those whips and snags and all those things that he does. And hit the seam and all that. So
Well, and I believe they have the number one pass defense in the country, and I know they maybe haven't played, the best passers, but
Sure.
like, still, that might help.
I don't think Isaiah Bond's playing for Texas. Just for what I've read.
Sure.
Anyway, that could.
they've
change
been down.
between
They've been
and
down guys all year.
Yeah. No, you're right. Trip, this is a chunky line. Clemson's a 12-point underdog in Austin.
I like Clemson and the points.
You like Clemson plus the 12. Okay.
I mean, just give him one complete game from Clemson. If they put two halves together, they could win the game.
Yeah. Nightcap at the Horseshoe. Ohio State hosting Tennessee. You guys have talked about how dangerous Tennessee is and how the pressure's on Ohio State. I was going to ask you, are you going to put your money where your mouth is? Felder likes the Vols. Wayne, what you think?
Young quarterback matters in this game to me, so I like Ohio State, and I think if Ryan Day doesn't blow it, I think I'm being serious. If this big if he doesn't blow it and he doesn't, I think Howard's going to bounce back, and I think they just got. This is an intriguing game to me. This is the one that was the hardest one for me to pick, but I'm gonna put this on the quarterback play. Both have good defenses. Both have talent. Iamaleava being young matters.
So you like Ohio State at home?
Yep.
All right. Doctor?
I like the Vols. Vols and the points.
You've been on the Vols all year.
I'm more worried about Heupel than I am Ryan Day. Like, just stay aggressive. Like, don't take your foot off the gas. And I think they're a very live dog. I think they could win that game.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, Trip, you like SMU
All dogs
and the points, you like Clemson and the points, and you like Tennessee. So you like 3 underdogs for your
and Indiana.
Those, but if you're submitting 3 picks for your weekly contest here, what are your 3? What are your 3 picks? I just gotta make sure these are on the record.
Are we doing just the playoff? Because I'm
not interested in the Gasparilla Bowl, man. If you want to make Gasparilla Bowl picks,
I think Tulane. Hey, and guess what? I came out and said, look, I really like Tulane and 14.5 points on Tuesday. Look what the line is today. It's 10.
Okay.
I'm
so
out
we're
here
moving
making
numbers
move.
here. Yeah, it's your world, buddy. I need 3 picks against the spread for the weekend.
I'll take Indiana, Clemson, and Tennessee. Those would be my 3.
Indiana, Clemson, and Tennessee. Indiana is plus 6.5. That line's come down a little bit. Okay, all right. So there's your Trip Herd 3 for all. Give me. I'll play along with you, buddy. All right,
yeah,
I won't let you play by yourself. Give me Indiana Notre Dame over 51.5. Over. We like points in South
Felder
Bend.
even checking these lines? I don't know. You might be trying to
Clemson
sneak
plus.
in here.
Sorry.
Clemson plus 12.
I got it.
I'll take the under in Clemson, Texas. That's 51. Texas, Clemson under.
I've got Indiana in 7.
That's 6.5, dude. Can
Felder.
you confirm, Felder?
Felder.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay. All right.
It's 7.
On it.
There it is. All right, let's see what we got. What do we got?
There's been some discussion about the Indiana Notre Dame line.
I am seeing 6.5.
Yeah.
What? Where?
6.5. Yeah,
on ESPN Bet.
We just use ESPN. I know you're out there shopping lines, man. I know you're looking at what's going on across the board, but we use consensus lines here. I'm sorry. And then last but not least, I'll take a bite out of I'll take SMU plus 8 and Texas Clemson under 51.5.
I got 8.5.
8.5 for SMU. Love it.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
So there you go. Those are your 3 for all selections. Trip's 3 games back, so maybe we can make up some more ground and catch me here at the finish. Boys, next week is Christmas. We will be talking football, but we'll have to try to find a way to work it in amongst all of our other obligations, right? Because it's the week of Christmas. It's also the start of Hanukkah. It's a busy week.
Yeah,
Wayne,
you got a lot.
thank you for getting up and joining us. Go teach the youth of America.
Great way to start the day. Thank you
really
for having
is.
me.
It really
it's been an
is.
honor. I love
it
this.
It really is. For
You're the
Wayne,
best, dude.
for Felder, for Trip, I'm Hartzell. Everybody enjoy the football. We'll talk to you guys next week. Happy holidays. Don't get too stressed out there, okay? Take care of each other.
Have
all
fun
right?
today, Felder.
There's a lot going on. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much. Felder, land the plane.
I know.